Hi guys, I'm back with another episode for the World Cup, and today we're going Greek. We're going to be making beef stifado, which is just a Greek beef stew. I'm going to be making with pita bread, and this dish, the beef stew usually takes about 3 hours to make, but with the pita bread, it sort of like times itself. So by the time the beef stew is done, the pita bread should be ready. So the timing works out. We're going to start with the beef stew first, so let's get started. So this beef stew is pretty simple. The two main ingredients in it, the two stars, are the shallots, or the onions, and the beef. So in this case I'm using shallots. You're just going to peel them and leave them whole. You look for this dirty end and you just cut it off, and then make an incision going down from that end that you just cut off to the tip, so you can peel off the skin, and just peel away any skin. If you take off a layer of the shallot, it's alright. So now after you have all your shallots peeled, you can start cutting your tomato. You could peel and grate, or do whatever you want, or just use tomato paste for this if you don't want the seeds or the skin here, but to be honest I don't mind it. So I'm gonna just dice these up. Here I have about 2 pounds of beef bottom round with most of the fat trimmed off. I'll leave a little bit on. Usually for beef stifado, you're supposed to have 2 shallots or 2 small onions per cut of beef, per cube. I don't really like that. I like to leave just 1 per 1, like 1-to-1 ratio. So I'm just going to cut this into roughly about 12 pieces. Once you have the meat seasoned, you just want to sear it off in batches. So now to the pan that we cooked the beef in, we're going to add the shallots now. And just 4 whole cloves of garlic. Now, the shallots do kind of fall apart as the cooking process goes along, so it's kind of difficult to keep them whole. So if you wish to keep them whole, you could actually cook them in a separate pan while the beef is cooking, and then just add them like later in the cooking process. So now the shallots and the garlic are starting to get a little brown. You can add a little bit of white vinegar to the pot. Now that the onions have soaked up most of the vinegar, you can add some wine. Add about 1.5 cups. And we added tomatoes. You don't want the wine to really reduce at this moment, because you want to taste the wine by the end of the process, by the end of the finished product of the stew. And the tomatoes will cook down as well. So now you can add the beef back to the pot with all those juices. And just cover it with some water. And now you can season it again with some salt, pepper, and some of the other spices. Here I just have some ground allspice and some ground nutmeg. Once you've seasoned it, give it another good stir. And then just cover it and let it cook for about 2 hours. So now we're going to start our pita bread. And it's pretty simple, it just has very few ingredients. It's just yeast, some warm water, sugar, salt, olive oil, and some all-purpose flour. We're going to start by doing the yeast. I don't measure too many things in this recipe. It's more of just a recipe that you just get by feel. So I am using 1 cup of water, warm water. But other than that, when it comes to the flour, I don't measure that. You just sort of got to feel the dough until it feels right to you. Same with the sugar. I don't add too much. Stir that together. And just let that sit to the side until you see it starts to get foamy on the top. Or it should take about 10 minutes. Alright, here I have my flour. I have just 2 cups here with a little bit of salt in it. My yeast, you can see it's nice and foamy at the top. I'm going to add that now to the flour. And with the fork, I'm just going to try to incorporate everything. This is going to be far from the final product. So this is just to get everything together, so it's going to be easier to mix in the flour later. So you see it's formed a nice, tacky, some sort of bowl. If you want, you can actually finish kneading this in the bowl or turn it on the table. Sort of about half a cup at a time, you get the flour. So at this point it's just 2.5 cups of flour. So I just turned the dough out onto a clean surface, and I'm going to continue kneading it and adding as much flour as I think I need. So once you can make a bowl and poke it and it's not really sticking, it's a little sticky, it's a little tacky, but you don't really pull off a piece of dough once you take your finger away. Your dough should be ready. So now once your dough is kneaded, you're going to get a clean bowl. Just a little bit of olive oil. Put the dough in the bowl. You could sort of mix the olive oil in a little bit. Make a bowl once again. And you're going to let this rise covered in plastic wrap for about 2 hours until you see it doubles in size. If you have a bread, a proofer, you could use that. I would just use my oven. I put on the lowest heat possible, and then I turn it off, and just let it sit for about 30 minutes, and then it's like the perfect temperature for proofing bread. So now after about 2 hours, the dough has risen, and you could turn it out and cut your pieces. You can see it's not sticking to the bowl at all. So from here you're just going to make 8 balls, or sorry, 7. And after you form your balls, you could just cover them with a towel and just let them sit for about 5 minutes, and then you come back to them and roll out your dough. So now you're going to want to roll your dough out, really into no specific length or width. Just roll them out so they're a nice flat disc. And then just set them to the side and cover them, and then you can start cooking them. So I cook my pitas for about 3 minutes on each side, or until they start to puff up in the middle. And as you see, they won't always puff up in the perfect spots, but to be honest, it's okay for this recipe. We're not really using the pita for the pockets. We're using it as a tool to pick up the beef. So now we're finally ready to eat. The estifado is ready. The way I finished it was I just took the lid off and let it reduce for about 30 minutes to an hour while I was doing the pita bread. So that's pretty much it. It's a simple dish. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys enjoyed watching Greece during the World Cup. Like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for a lot more countries that are going to be represented very soon.